oh my goodness, I'm going to need like $100,000. I'm never going to be able to buy a house.
They always say, market's going to crash, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash.
No, you don't actually need 20% down.
Does anyone have enough money to get into the real estate market?
Now there's a time to get on the market and find something what you're looking for like for 5 months.
A mortgage pre-approval means you're set. You're good to go. Is that true?
The Red Chair Podcast. Real truth behind real people in real estate.
This is our very first ever Royal LePage Red Chair podcast. I am so excited about this. A little bit nervous, I have to say, but we're going to get through it. And we're putting this out there for you, the consumer, because we know that the real estate market is crazy and interesting and ever evolving. And so why not learn from some of the best in the business? So with me this morning, I have two of Royal LePage's finest. I've got Dima with us here, and Dima is how long have you been in real estate now, Dima?
I was actually 17 years from last year, but in real estate in Canada, like 6 years.
Okay, excellent. And you are multilingual. What
Yeah.
languages do you speak, Dima?
It's French. It's English, I
That's
hope.
okay. English, yes, that's a good one.
Russian, Ukrainian, and a little bit Polish.
Okay, excellent,
So,
excellent.
I would say 3 languages in total.
And so before here, you were in Manitoba, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was a real estate agent in Manitoba for like almost 3 years there.
Excellent. And then you moved out here to the promised land and
Yes,
never looked back because
absolute.
it's beautiful here.
It's amazing here.
Amazing.
Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. Good stuff. And also with us, we've got Marland. I always want to say Marland because
Many do, April.
Yes, I'm sure they do. But Molly, you are also kind of a multifaceted, multi-market type of real estate agent. So how long have you been in the game?
Yeah, so I like to joke that I've been in real estate since the womb. I come from a real estate family. My dad's been with Royal LePage for 30 years.
Wow.
So very loyal to the Royal LePage brand. We love it for very good reasons. I started my career in Ottawa working under my dad. I did 2 years with him, and then I've come to the island to, see what the BC market is all about, and I am loving it.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. And I'm also an import. I'm from Ontario too, but moved out here with my family a number of years ago, more than a decade ago. And we've just been loving it ever since. So welcome here with us today. So today we're kind of going to talk about first-time homebuyer myths and the truths behind them. And so I know that years ago when I first bought my first house, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to need like $100,000 deposit. I'm never going to be able to buy a house. And I think that's a common trend among buyers. So our first kind of myth that we're going to be unpacking today is, I need a 20% down payment in order to buy a house. What would you say to someone who's thinking that way about buying a house?
Yeah, I think that all the time it's, do I even have enough money to get into the real estate market? Does anyone have enough money to get into the real estate market, right? Like, it's a daunting task. And to anyone I meet with that's a first-time home buyer who's considering dipping their toe in the market or really wants to try to get ahead through real estate, which is a good way to get ahead, it's let's get you in touch with the people that will best serve you to get you where you want to go. So that's meeting with a really, really trusted mortgage advisor. That's meeting with your financial advisor if you have one, or just understanding what your finances are so that you can make the best decision. So I think that there are many different ways to get into the market. There's many different styles of real estate. It's just having the right people on your team to get you through the finish line and to get you where you need to go. So I think that, real estate can be a really daunting, asset to consider purchasing, but it is a good way to get ahead. And I think that if you have the right people on your side, it's honestly like Dima and I, we sell and buy real estate every day. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be too scary, but you just need to make sure you're getting the right advice.
Right, that's good. And Dima, have you ever had an experience where you've had a buyer that's been like, you've been talking to them about it, and like, oh, we're never going to be able to do this,
Yeah.
How do you deal with those conversations?
I would say like 20% is a good Nobody like say and judge you if you get a 20 or like more. But generally speaking, it's just for me just a numbers. So if my buyers or you and you find a way to get the numbers corrected, and if the numbers work for you and you can no need to be longer rented until you can buy it, they're definitely great and go ahead and buy it if you like it. In other ways, so the 20% is just not a deal or not something you need to do. Sometimes the people are okay with 5% if the number work with them. Sometimes 10, sometimes like 17. But usually, yeah, it's great if you have 20 because you don't have to pay those 4% insurance rate and you can save some money. But it's not like some kind of illegal.
Yeah.
It's really helpful if your numbers work because in my opinion, I do have one family, one friend of my family, they moved there like maybe 10 years ago or more, and they still save in 20 for buy something unique in the Vancouver. Not here, but there. But eventually the market goes more faster than you save for your down payment. And how long did you keep those saving enough to buy something for like starting with 500,000 and now you're finishing close to the 1 million or so? So the better way just loan and keep, because real estate it's not a gambling. You can't buy it right away and just wait. The better way just keep, save, live, enjoy. And if it's 5%, okay. If it's like 10%, okay. But I'm always saying my clients, you will still be smiling when you get your payment check from the bank. So if you feel feel a little bit relaxed and you get your payment check, even if you give like 5%, great. If you feel really bit stressful and the numbers doesn't really work for you, wait until you get your stress release and you can maybe pay like 20%, maybe more.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. And I think that's the real myth buster here is that like, no, you don't actually need 20% down. You can do it with as little as 5%. And that's what I think is comforting to the first-time home buyer, because a lot of times they don't have a lot because they're maybe young, or maybe they've been renting for a number of years and they just haven't been able to build up that equity, right? And so the comfort of knowing that 20% is great, but there are other options available for you, right? And so with that in mind, do you generally refer those first-time buyers to a bank, or do you refer them to a mortgage broker? And kind of what's the difference between the two of those?
I would say like I generally refer like when I pass my real estate exam here, it says you cannot give like only one advice. It's better just give 3 or more. So I have a list of the mortgage specialists. I have a list of some kind of advices, and they also have, my clients also have some list from their friends mortgage specialists. So the better way to find those personality and those person who can really want it and have a time to help you. And if it's bank, it's fine. But usually speaking, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 options, and better rather get some like bank and mortgage specialist to know what is a market is offer you, what is the best option to not only this bank, but also for those 2 mortgage specialists, though your friends mortgage specialist and your friends, and sometimes from my side some kind of referral. So it's give a little bit more information for your clients, and if you get more information, usually you get more wise decision in the future. So I personally prefer to get a couple more advices from my client.
And Molly, maybe you can answer this. What's the difference between a bank, getting your financing from a bank versus a mortgage broker?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of as realtors, you have a lot of mortgage brokers in your back pocket that, want to do business with you. And it's important as realtors that we align ourselves with people in those fields, legal and, mortgage brokers, what have you, that are really, aligned and ready to get things through the finish line for your clients. So I've had clients walk into a bank and say, oh, well, they could do this for me. I have a mortgage broker who I absolutely adore who's at a bank, but he has such a large book of business that he can shop for rates. So I think it's, the best thing you can do if you're considering getting in the market is first talk to a realtor who can point you in the right direction of the person who is going to advocate for your wants and needs the best out of anyone out there. And sometimes going into the bank isn't the best way. Sometimes going it really is case to case, but I think the best thing you can do is find a realtor that you like and trust, that you know is going to connect you with the person that is going to advocate on your behalf the best they possibly can.
I think that's great advice because not every deal is the same. Not
Yeah.
every purchase is the same. And so one of the things that we say in the realtor world is, of course, we don't want to give financial guidance and advice. That's not our wheelhouse. Our wheelhouse is the houses that you buy, showing them to you, negotiating. We're huge negotiators, right? We're negotiating on your behalf, but we're not giving you financial advice. So, we're going to point you in the right direction that we feel is best for you. But at the end of the day, you're going to have those financial conversations with the mortgage broker or the bank, right?
Yeah, and
That's
by the
awesome.
way, sorry,
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
add a little bit. So sometimes the bank give you the best option what they have, but how many options they have the bank versus their like 5-10 mortgage specialist or 5-10 lenders around the area. And sometimes you can point at the bank and get the best option. It will be best option on the market.
Yeah.
But sometimes they have only 5 or 3 options for this current situation. And this is not the best of the market. It's just only the best on the bank.
Right.
So maybe to get more information, just give you a little bit more time to choose.
That's great. That's good. So good advice. So that's myth number one.
Yeah.
We've resolved that. We know we don't need 20% down. Of course, that's the best, but you can do it for less, right? And that's okay too. You want to get into the market. I know, a lot of people rent and they think they're never going to get in, but it is more accessible than you think. So that's good news. Okay, myth number 2. Here we go. Wait for the market to crash. This is interesting. I mean, this is really kind of what's happening right now. Like we've got a much more balanced market than we've ever had before. We just had the election last week. Are we allowed to talk about politics in
We should be.
podcasts? I don't know. It might be too controversial. But, I think a lot of people maybe were pausing for a second to see how all of that was going to pan out. And so, I feel like we have a lot of listings. What do you guys think about what's going on right now in the market? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, working on the island, a lot of realtors here work kind of the South Island. That's what I'm kind of doing. We also have a lot of agents at Royal LePage that really specialize in their niche markets. I think, as April said, virtually on the entire island, I think we could say it is quite a balanced market. And I think that, I've got a listing in Cobble Hill right now that is blowing up, like crazy busy. And I think what plays into that, and that's not as it is important for first-time home buyers, but it is just pricing. So I think that listings priced properly are blowing up. And I think that listings that the sellers might have, COVID pricing expectations are sitting. So it really depends on a seller's expectation and a buyer's expectation as well. And at the end of the day, a listing is worth what a buyer will pay for it. So
I love that. That's so good.
That's a tidbit from my dad.
That's so good. We'll have to put the reference to that quote was,
Rob Marland
yeah.
from Ottawa.
But that's a great piece of advice. Dima, what would you say to someone who's saying, well, I'm just going to wait?
So, and refer to your question about the market, I would say the market is just, for me, the people who wanted to buy last year that cannot afford or cannot find a way and cannot find something really unique. Now there's a time to get on the market and find something what you're looking for for 6 or 5 months. I don't think this might be continued for the next couple months or so. So if we see a lot of listing there, maybe we can see a lot of buyers who are willing to purchase and so on. So it really feels like balanced market. And it really feels
balanced,
you can buy something wherever you like. But for a first-time buyer, actually, it's a great time to feel like you are still buyers, not just chasing or finding or bidding with some bidding war. You can find something you like. You can give your inspection, financing, or some other conditions. You can get what you like. You can may get some negotiation even. So everything is fine now. Feels like a fine. I don't know it's how it should be next year or so, but I believe still the buyers who are willing to buy, it's great to buy. And
it's funny you say everything is fine. I have a mug in my office. If anybody ever comes by, they'll see me drinking coffee out of it. And it says everything is fine on the inside of it, but on the outside of it is a bunch of pictures of dumpster fires.
I've seen that.
and that's it. Everything's fine. It's all good, but it's actually might be a dumpster fire, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case right now. I think we have a ton of inventory inventory, and we have bought. It's actually a really good time for buyers to look at what's out there. There's
Yeah.
many options to choose from, right? Would you say that there is a best time of the year to buy, like spring, summer, fall, winter? What's best in your opinion, or is there a best?
I would say like it's depend about your initial goals. Let's say if you feeling like you need to buy the cheapest option on the market because there's now enough the funds for you, or you're looking for something 3-bed but you are still only approved for 2 beds, the best time to buy like maybe in the end of the autumn or end of like as for now, because before it was a spring, it was winter time. So end of the autumn maybe the best time because the people go out and the island will be a little bit empty and the buyers will feels like a little bit on the wheels and the seller on a little bit upset. But generally speaking, the best time to buy when you're ready to buy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
are you ready? Are you willing to rent next 6 months until you just get a discount for like 5,000-10,000? Who knows? Yeah, is it worth for it or no? Their prices for rent also crazy here. So
Yeah, it's true.
next
It's
6
very
months
true.
maybe cost a little bit more if you get the discount in the end of the year.
Right.
And about those questions of the market crash, I would say I can a little bit add because I was in the market when it was crashing in
Oh,
Ukraine.
interesting.
Like 3 times or 4 times we get a really crashed market there. And I would say you don't want to buy in this market at all. You feel like you want to buy something on the cash for the cheapest price possible, also on. But if everybody's selling, the buyers doesn't want to buy in this market. I mean, they also a little bit frustrated because nobody knows what happened. It's like to buy something near the volcano, the starting volcano eruption, and you feel like I'm still need to buy here, maybe a little bit wait until. So when the market is crashed, it's not the best time to buy. It might be excuse for the buyers. Sometimes the people excuse by themselves and say, I will wait until the market crash, until the election comes up, until there's something change, until everything changed. But you may buy ready when you're ready. If you feel like you're ready, if the numbers work for you, don't wait, guys. Because like next 10 years, you rather get something, wait until, and sell it after 10 years, than rather to wait until it's market crash or sold. Yeah.
Okay. So scenario. So as an agent and, for the public, you may have gotten a knock on your door from time to time from an agent that's looking to generate business. And that's what we do. In our quieter times, we have to make sure that we're making money because we have to live just like everybody else. And real estate is commission based. And so you're going around door knocking and you knock on a door and, it's maybe like the more, maybe they've got a son there who's in his 20s and he's out gardening in the front there and you're just having a conversation with him. He's like, yeah, I've been thinking about like maybe buying and moving out of my parents' place finally. Because that's kind of like the first time buyer is like maybe someone who's just gotten married or they're going to get married soon, or maybe they're, been renting for the first bit, but now they're having a child, or there's all these scenarios, right? But so you're having a conversation with this guy and he's like, but I just don't know. I can't afford to live in Victoria. It just seems like impossible. I'm going to wait and see if prices go down. We hear that so often. I'm going to wait till the prices drop a little. It's bound to happen. Or I'm going to wait for the interest rates to drop. What kind of response are you going to have to that? What can you say to that potential first-time buyer to put his mind at ease about it's more possible than you think? What would you say, Molly?
Yeah, I mean, again, I love to utilize my dad's 30 years because it's right at my fingertips and I lived it, because in a real estate family, everyone's in real estate, even if you're not a licensed agent. And in the media, in the news, they always say, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash. Historically, we have seen that actually not happen in real estate. Real estate just seems to keep constantly ticking on an upward trajectory. Now, we did have the 2 COVID years where sellers were getting maybe 100, 200, 300,000 over what they probably should have got for their home, which was great for them. Cash out, have a great life. Wasn't so good for buyers, but alas, if everyone was happy, it's all fine. So those were like 2020 to 2022, I would say. So that isn't a clear indication of what the traditional market is. I would say now in 2025, we're kind of back to as if like 2019 just skipped forward and we've just still ticked along, moving upwards in the appreciation and value for real estate. So I think that this whole idea that the market's going to crash or, I'm going to wait for interest rates, it comes back to what Dima said. The right time to buy is deeply personal. At the end of the day, so many circumstances play into that, like what's happening personally for you, what's happening. Is the house you want to buy even on the market? I had first-time home buyers I was working with last year. They, were super discouraged. And then, we'd looked in the spring market because that's when there's the most inventory. And it was really exciting. And then they had a really busy summer and they both work busy jobs. And then the fall came around and we kind of got back in the horse and we lost out in a multiple offer, but classic. But that was for the best because that house actually ended up not being the right one. Something came up. They had also just gotten engaged. It was really exciting. And they ended up buying in November. So it's really which is more of a slow time in the market. But also we don't, Dima said this to me yesterday. We don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
You can have a busy market when you're not supposed to. And it's just really what is it that your buyer is looking for? Is that available? And does it make financial sense for them?
Right. Love it. So Mythbuster here is no, there's no good time. There's no bad time. There's no time. Waiting for the market to crash, that's not a thing. It's just not even real, right? So I love that. Okay. Myth number 3. I love this one because I hear this so frequently. I don't need an agent. I've got Realtor.ca. I've got all these great websites I can go to. I've got Instagram. I've got all the social media. I don't need a realtor. How do we bust that myth? Dima.
Me personally thinking so. It's legal. Don't have any realtor, and yet, but. Me personally thinking, okay, if you're looking for something, you have a reason why do you need a realtor. Yeah, sometimes it's a reason like money, sometimes a reason like personal. Maybe you had a bad experience, maybe you just from other provinces where this work otherwise, or just from other country. Because first-time home buyers from my side, from other countries, sometimes from other provinces. And they thought it might be the same as they get their own country where they don't need a realtor. Or sometimes they thought when you get a 2 realtor, 3 realtor, 5 realtors, you pay 2 times more, 3, 5 or so. And so they rather to choose 1 realtor instead of 2 or something like that. But first of all, we don't have any dual representation here. So every time when you get a realtor from the seller side, you get a seller realtor who work for the seller, which is great. So are you willing to negotiate with a realtor who willing to work with a seller for 25 years? They doing their job and business and they have an experience. And in my experience, usually when you work with someone who are more experienced than you, 3, 4 times, 10 times, you get more likely lose than you earn. So this is the first my opinion. So usually, yes, you can work, but will you win? Sometimes or mostly in times when somebody works for 24/7 for 10 years, in real estate, you may not win. Yeah, so just pick up right one for yourself. And we have so many realtors. And I always say, if you don't have any realtors, you don't have a friend at all. You cannot make any friend. Because to make a friendship with real estate agent so easily and find the right person so easily, we're 3,000 realtors here on the island. So pick up right one for you. Find a great person who can really want to help you and achieve you, especially in this market. As your buyers, you don't pay, actually pay. Yeah, so your realtor will get commission from the seller side realtor. I mean, what is the point to find anyone just to be in yourself? I mean, it's just, for me, it's just shooting in your leg. Just feels great, but it's a little bit overwhelmed. So you have to negotiate by yourself. You have to write down everything by yourself. You have to get an inspection, or you have to choose the right lawyer, mortgage specialist, and everything for what? And the last thing, what I say, if you're trying to negotiate with a seller, you have to have the right tools.
And I think that's the key right there
Yeah.
through what you're saying is that word negotiate.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sets you apart as an
Yeah.
agent is that ability to. So, two things I heard from what you said negotiate and also the organization of putting all the steps together, getting them in touch with the right mortgage person, home
Yeah.
inspector, like you're sort of that planner of all of those steps. And so, but the negotiation piece that's the most powerful part of the realtor experience, I think.
Yeah, but it's has to come up from something. The negotiation doesn't come up from the say, hey guys, maybe you're willing to give me like 50,000 discount. It's just the numbers, it's just information. So if you have and you know what were sold for this area for the last like 30 days, 60 days, how the market going up in this night, what is about the season right away, what the market feels like for this seasonal property or maybe first-time home buyers property or maybe a condo apartment. So if you know this area and know the market and you can find out those areas from our CMA report, MLS report, all of those reports what we have in Royal page, this is give you a leverage to get the negotiation process
love
well.
that.
Instead, just chasing around and asking for give me a commission check. I mean, it may work, but usually it's only work emotional side. So when the first time home buyers had 3 kids and 2 of them young and ask, hey guy, we are first time home buyers, we're just willing to ask about like 30,000 discount. Why? I mean, it's great and you have kids, it's your choice, it's still work, but from the side of seller side, you don't have a seller right for you. You just have a real estate agent who just sold those asking like 2 times per day from other buyers. So you cannot like break this wall until you have those numbers with you, until you have those statistics, market report analysis, and then you can ask for something.
Yeah, that knowledge,
Yeah.
that background. And I love the idea of, it's not about the money, it's about helping the people, right? And that's a big part of being an agent is like, we are in the business of helping people first, and the money comes second, right? Molly, what about you? Well, how would you respond to that? I don't need a realtor. I can do this on my own.
Well, it's so funny that you said the thing about helping the people because I remember getting into real estate and having kind of a vague idea of how much money I could make. And I was excited about that. And I remember my dad saying to me, it's not about the money, it's about the stories. And I was kind of like, okay, Dad, like whatever. And I remember working on my first deal. And I couldn't sleep that night. I fell in love with my clients. They were the sweetest couple. I didn't even remember that I was getting paid. And I actually mean that genuinely. I was having so much fun and I was so excited that I forgot about the commission check because I just love what I do. And I feel like, Dima, you probably feel the same. And I think that coming to the Realtor.ca point and, I don't need an agent, I'm living that right now with this listing that I have in Cobble Hill. It is a special kind of unique listing. And I have people reaching out to me saying, we had no idea this was coming on the market. We didn't know that this, existed, etc.
Yeah, you get that connection with someone
Yeah.
and you're like, you become their counselor. You're watching their kids in the front lobby because they're going through the house and the kids have been through 6 already and they're done and they, so you become this babysitter for a minute. You become, their entertainment piece. You're taking them out for meals. You're doing this, you're doing that. You become every part of the experience.
Yeah, you become
for them,
part of their
right?
life.
Yeah. And that I love that we get to have those personal experiences with people. It's
And what I
amazing.
would also, it's meaningful, right? And what I would also add as realtors, like we pay monthly fees that give us access to all of this data and information that the general public isn't privy to, right? So that's how we best serve our
You have
clients.
the inside scoop.
We got the inside scoop,
yeah.
and we also, especially at a brokerage like Royal LePage, we get training and access to managing brokers and mentorship that help us best serve our clients. So, every real estate transaction is different, which keeps us on our toes.
Really?
We're always learning. And as soon as I pick up my phone, I know I can get in touch with a managing broker or another realtor with Royal LePage that's going to help guide me through that process because it is a journey and we need to make sure that we understand what is going on and we can best serve. So I think that Realtor.ca, though it's a great resource, it doesn't arm you with everything you need to know, especially as a first-time home buyer. your realtor really needs to hold your hand as you walk through that process. And I think that's like the value that we provide our clients and people thinking about the market is we connect them with the right people. We help them understand the journey. We help them understand the paperwork.
Right.
For God.
Which is
Yeah.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and I think too, as realtors, we are constantly having to educate. Part of our mandate, part of the BCFSA, which is the British Columbia Financial Services Authority, we have a superintendent that we have to answer to on a government regulated platform. And so we're required by law to consistently educate ourselves on current legislation, on, trends, changes. We know everything about everything. And so, as a new first-time buyer, I think too, a lot of times they're going to have to buy a place that might have a suite in it. So you got to understand Residential Tenancy Act, all of these things, right?
Zoning.
And zoning, if you're going to do any kind of, renovations, all of these implications that people generally, and some people are very knowledgeable. I'm not saying that they're not, but having someone that's just consistently learning and updating and upgrading their knowledge about all things real estate, it's good to have that person in your corner, right? So the myth that we've busted here, you do need a realtor, okay? You don't do this on your own. It's just so much easier to have someone, especially as a first-time home buyer, right, to help you out through the process. So that is a good feeling. Okay, we're getting through this, guys. We're doing good. So myth number 4, buy the biggest house you can afford. This is an interesting one. So, budget is, a lot of people don't have a budget. They just go, well, I'll just, muddle my way through this. So have you seen a buyer that's regretted stretching their budget? Or what would you say to a buyer that says, okay, I'm going to give you a scenario here. Buyer goes and gets a pre-approval, because that's an important first step, to go to your bank or your mortgage broker, and they're going to say, you are approved for X amount of dollars. And their situation, their jobs, they have a baby on the way, they want to get a new car, maybe whatever. A little bit of their situation, and they go, oh yeah, we've been pre-approved for $1.5 million. It's great. Let's go. Are you going to say to them, okay, that's great, but let's talk about the full budget picture. What kind of conversations are you having with buyers in that moment, like about budgeting and house price and what they're pre-approved for? What are those conversations like? Let's start with Dima.
I would say they buy their cheapest house in the great area instead of just buying the biggest house in the bad area.
Okay, that's good advice.
So the first one is it's not about the big house, but in terms of big, it might be a big enough with your current situation living, or in terms you are big enough to you planning maybe your second or 2 kids more. So the biggest house doesn't always feels like you have a big and dream home house. And if you get your paycheck each month from the bank, are you still happy? Are you feel like you're okay to manage it? And
or
what
are you
happens?
stressed?
Yeah, all the time. Like 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. Or you will just feel like maybe in the future, after 5 years, you feel like maybe you wanted to travel more. Or who knows, in your plan in the future, but generally speaking, the biggest house not always the best one.
Right.
I would say it should be like much on your criteria plus 5-10 years, because you may earn and get more equity until you keep more, like 5-10 years. So when the buyer's just trying to buy something for like 2-3 years, it may not really worth it, because you still have to pay all of those fees, all of those obligations, and you still have to hire me to sell your home and pay my commission, which is also like part chunk of the money. So the better way to buy the house, it just have to be niche your unique needs plus 5 till 10 years. And it's not always bigger. And another one perspective, I would say, like, let's say in the future, let's say after 10 years to pass, how this market and how this house or this like you live in area will present on the current market. Is it will the one of the best one, or it will be old enough only just for tear it down and just build new construction building on
So what
top.
you're saying is like buying a house with the idea of like resale. Like how am I going to get the money back that I put into it, kind of a feel.
Because I will sell this in the future after 5 years. And how I may feel to sell your house right away, and after 5 years I will like tell you fairy tales as, oh, sorry, this is not the right time, this is something. It should be right time all the time. You buy something unique house, or not really unique, but the people have to love it after 10 years. And the market have to love it after 10 years. So there's a certain amount of numbers, rooms, numbers, square footage, and the lot size when the people love it and buy it, generally speaking, buy it.
Right.
So sometimes it's not unicorn, sometimes not as a big one. Sometimes it's just really nice house with a certain amount of the quality and the bedrooms and so on. And it's the people love it, they come and buy.
Yeah.
Instead of just, finding the right buyer with the potential, maybe who will really love it.
Right.
Sometimes they don't really love it, they just buy it with the numbers.
Yeah. Molly, what about you? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I always, especially with first-time home buyers, anything I can do to take the pressure off a really intense situation is what I try to do. And I think we all try to do. But I always tell them, and I see their shoulders kind of relax, I'm not going to sell you something I don't think I can resell in the future. Right? Because it's like, then they think, okay, she has my best interest at heart. She's not just going to sell me a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Because that happens
Can
sometimes.
we say crap on the podcast?
Oh my gosh.
Of course we can. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I apologize.
It's all good.
My grandmother's looking down at me in disdain.
But what if it's a piece of crap?
Well, exactly. Exactly.
So I think that comes down to, just as Dima was saying, sometimes the best investment for you, you've got to buy the house that you want to buy.
Yeah.
Right? So if it is a big house, then you will be looking kind of, more rural. If it's, you want walkability, you're going to be looking downtown.
Right.
It all comes at different price points and at different sacrifices. You might be looking at a house downtown, might be an old house. Okay, so old house has deficiencies. You might be looking at a brand new house out in the country. That also has probably subject to GST. There's different things that go into each property that will, raise red flags or bring up an issue for a buyer, especially a first-time home buyer that's not had the experience.
Yeah.
So I think that as far as buy the biggest house, buy the house that's the best investment for you long term.
Yeah.
And that means different things to different people, but making sure that, if you're maxing out your budget, you're doing so with the intention that, you can make that work.
With that understanding.
Yeah. And that, and if you're kind of just looking to get in with something super cheap, maybe that's not the right investment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better to hold off for a little bit. And if your mortgage broker is really on your side and is really advocating for you, they're going to tell you if it's smart to buy right now, or they might tell you, you know what, you're a student still.
Yeah.
Wait till you graduate. You could qualify for a more beneficial mortgage rate.
And same with your agent. You said, that's interesting that you said if your mortgage broker's on your side, but also if your agent's on your side, because we're not all made the same, right? And there are agents out there that only see the dollars and cents of it, and they want to get you into a house as quickly as possible at any cost. And so as a first-time buyer, being aware that not every agent is the same, and make sure that you're maybe meeting with a few and finding that vibe that, this is my person. They're looking out for me. They're not looking out for a paycheck, right? That's important. One of the things I like about this myth, I wrote it down, was it says budgeting for life, not just the mortgage. And that's what you were saying. Not being so strapped to that monthly payment that you can't get away, or you can't, treat yourself to a dinner or something. You're just so strapped to the mortgage. So that's an important piece to this for sure, right? It's like, don't necessarily buy the biggest house. Buy the one that you can afford and enjoy it. Love it. Great advice, you guys. I feel like I'm learning a lot here today. Okay, final myth. I love this too. This is I love all these, but a mortgage pre-approval means you're set. You're good to go. Is that true?
I lived that this week as well. So it's really important when you're deciding to get into the real estate market, first of all, connect with a realtor that you like and trust, just as you said, April. There's many of us around, but there's some of us that do our job really, really well and take great pride in that. So find someone that works with what you want. Let them, or you might have someone connect you with a mortgage broker. Maybe you have one. Maybe your realtor's connecting you. Have a mortgage broker that is really transparent and on the right track and understands your whole financial situation, not just like your monthly paycheck. They understand your debt or if you have anything else going on financially. So it's like the biggest picture so that everyone has a really clear understanding of where we're going to search and what we can buy. So once you have that kind of go ahead and you're searching with your realtor, it's really make sure everyone's on the same page, right? So when you put in that offer, if you are to get an accepted offer, it's understanding the weight of that accepted offer. These are legal documents, and we can't just be kind of running around, I might just offer on this because who cares? There's like legal repercussions with that, right? So it's understanding that once you get to that financing condition in your offer, meaning that your mortgage broker or the bank is going to review this deal, maybe do an appraisal of the house and kind of send this all to the underwriting team and get everything sorted out. It's that, there's no skeletons in the closet, right? Because once you get to the date you're firming up or your completion date, things can go south.
Yeah.
So it's that all the information has been given to the people that need it, your realtor, your mortgage broker, your lawyer, so that everyone knows that when we get that firm offer, we're ready to complete on this deal, because if we don't, there could be serious repercussions.
Right. Love it. Dima.
Pre-approve, it's like a first date.
Like
it feels good, it seems good, but it's not a marriage,
That's so good,
Might be a little
Dima.
too good to be true. I love that so much.
So,
I've not heard that one.
I know, it's great.
and if you're in your honeymoon, you can buy some silly thing, new car, change job, change like location. So just feels like you need to be absolutely filled and absolutely involved in the situation when you buy, because sometimes you buy what you wanted to buy, but the bank think different. So the bank may do some kind of appraisal, and it seems like you like this property, but the bank doesn't really like this property. So you pre-approved for 1.5, congratulations, but the bank doesn't really like this property for 1.3 even, or for 1.2. So be sure this pre-approve is only like, some kind of dating. Not be fully involved, because it's not a reason to buy. It's just only reason to shopping around, find something right place, put in an offer, get some conditions, get some result, and only then get approval for this certain amount of mortgage and with a certain property, which is absolutely have to be done before you are absolutely be sure are you right to buy to this one property or not.
Right. So. Yeah, and there's steps to that process. There's that pre-approval. I'll tell a really short anecdotal sort of story here, but I had a client years ago that got a pre-approval. We put an offer in on a place. It was accepted. And, we were going through the motions and a few days before financing. But my client was so excited about getting this offer put together. He went and bought a car. And then
or furniture.
The credit score changed, and then all of a sudden, because of that new car payment, he wasn't able to get the financing anymore. So people don't necessarily think about the repercussions of, and also the fact that this is really important that I find for first-time buyers especially, is that pre-approval has an expiry date. Right? And so it's really important to make sure that if you come to your agent and say, look, I've done the first step, here's my pre-approval, we're going to be asking, how long is that for? And then we've got to work within that time frame to find the right place and make sure that financing condition it's closed within that time frame. And so those little nuances sometimes people don't think about, right? And so again, that's why they need a realtor, because we are going to keep track of all of that stuff for them and make sure that it all comes together, right? So yeah, so pre-approval really means nothing. It's great. I love that sort of analogy of dating and honeymoon and marriage and all of that. It's like, yeah, it's just a piece of paper at that point, but there's a whole lot of other pieces to that puzzle, right? So that is awesome. Okay, guys, I think we've debunked 5 pretty incredible myths here today. So I'm going to do like a little quick fire Q&A here for you. Final thoughts, and then we'll be done. So, okay, first rapid fire question. First thing that comes to your mind. One myth you wish would die forever.
Molly last time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, enough with the market crashing, guys. The doom and gloom.
Yes.
It's not all doom and gloom. I think that when you want to buy is the best time to buy. Find the house that works, get your ducks in a row, and go for it. I don't think that you need to always listen to the media because I don't think it's always right.
Yeah, good. Dima, love it.
What are the ones for their myths? Can you remind me, please?
Can you respond to that one or no?
I like this myth, but Molly is also pick up it, so I maybe just
so
pick
she
up.
stole yours.
Sorry,
I mean, it's okay. It's still here.
But
No
it's
worries.
good. It's a good.
I like this.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think we all need
absolutely.
to let that one go.
This might be the first
one piece of advice for someone starting today, a first-time buyer starting today. What's your one piece of advice?
Oh, okay. So we just done with those kind of myth, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go to this one.
One piece of advice for the people who wanted to start right away.
Right today, first-time buyer starting today. What's one piece of advice to give them?
Find a good friend who is a real estate agent. Find a good person. Make this connection and start in education yourself for the long term. You will get hopefully, you will get like 3, 4, 5 real estate pieces in your life. And I hope like another 10 with your kids or so on. So you still need this education for a long living life, because most of my known people or like friends, they build wealth with real estate. So one of the reasons why the people wanted to involve in real estate, because it helps you be wealthier and healthier and get your long-term financial goals started. So be sure you don't miss this educational process and just rely on some market crashes or some other thing to might be doing, or some kind of silly thing that people thinking it might be helpful for them. So start education right away. Find a long-term friend with you who may answer for your questions. Education with you for the same long journey. Maybe help you to buy or sell in the future, but make some connections, make some friends, and make some education in real estate, because it may help you, save you a lot of money, give you a lot of leverage in future. So you can get them a lot to learn a little bit, day by day or like weeks by week, to get a little bit more information.
Yeah, that's great. What would you say? Piece of advice for a first-time buyer.
I would say go to an open house.
Oh, that's
go
a good
see
place
a house,
to start. Yeah.
even if it's not like necessarily the house you're looking for or your price range. Maybe it's above, maybe it's below. Go meet people. Go see what a realtor is like in person and see if they're a good fit for you. And then also just that starts your market knowledge. Walking through a house is the best thing you can do as a first-time home buyer.
So good. So good. Yeah. Okay, final quick fire is, if home buying was one word, what would it be? And you can't say dumpster fire.
My word's journey. I know it's kind of
word.
cliche, but it's a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
I love that. Dima.
My words is mostly it's just educational and sometimes of statistic or some analysis data, because it's also emotional, but you really care with those person who's selling you. Sometimes it's non-emotional. They just need some numbers and data. Yeah. Better just combine journey with them some numbers.
So emotion,
Yeah.
Emotion, education, journey, and I would say in most cases joy. It is an enjoyable experience to buy a home. It's not always. There are moments where, we feel under some sort of duress, or maybe, we've received an inheritance because we've lost a family member and now we're able to buy. And that can be, a sad moment. But again, at the heart of it, the home is where your heart is. I mean, and I know that's super cliche.
Oh, I like it, though.
But it's true. And so, you find a space that brings you joy. And so it is a joyful thing. So I love that. That's so good. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap up. But in the last couple minutes, this is like your moment to sort of give me your elevator pitch. Like, who are you? And what are you, what are you offering to potential clients out there? This is your moment just to say, hey, if you want to give me a call, this is it. So Molly, why don't you go first and give us your final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite an extroverted person. I love people. I think that, as Dima said, there are thousands of realtors on this island and nationally in Canada. And, I love the outdoors. If I'm not working on my phone or on the phone, I'm, out running, biking, hiking, skiing. I think you need to find someone that you share common values with, and that you feel is a good fit for you and that will hustle for you. And I'd be happy to even just have a conversation, as you said, talk to a few realtors.
Yeah.
If you want to call me, if you want to call Dima, I would always root for Dima too. And
Love it.
who my client might not be the right client for Dima, who's Dima's client might not be the right client for me.
Absolutely.
So I think there's enough to go around. And if you want to have a conversation, no pressure, no strings attached, you can just give me a call. You can shoot me a text. I'm always happy to meet.
Love it.
That's as simple as that.
Love it. Good stuff. And Dima, how about you? This is your final thoughts with Dima.
So when you just first of all call Molly and ask about get a conversation and then pick up.
Once you've talked to Molly,
Then you can call Dima.
And if somehow you decided to meet another one or just meet with another two agents.
I'm very flattered.
I mean, somehow maybe I'll just can offer you a drink of coffee to meet somewhere and discuss about your needs and discuss as it's still right the process for you to buy something. And also always I do have a real estate YouTube channel for help some buyers and sellers sometimes to understand how the market works here on the island. So maybe to find me on their YouTube, find those channel, maybe it's something you can find and pick up right for you. It's not always they think to help, but sometimes it's just about education on the island, their areas, the so on. And if it's possible to meet, it will be great. Or just making a call, it's also will be great. And otherwise, find the right people for you. It's not about real estate, it's just about you as a person. How you find the right person for you as a client.
So good.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for joining me today. Dima, Molly, you have been a joy to chat with today. I hope that, you have been able to inspire some first-time buyers maybe to just kind of get off the bench and get out there and start looking around. Yeah. So thank you to you both for joining me today. Thank you for joining us on our first podcast. I'm April. I'm a manager at Royal LePage Coast Capital, and I'm also a licensed agent, but I am a non-selling agent. These wonderful folks here with me, their information is going to be available with this podcast. Reach out to them, have a coffee, chat about real estate. They work with first-time buyers, but also with every type of buyer and seller, and they would be happy to help you. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you again right here on the Red Chair Podcast. Take care.